Like engineering, Scientology has certain basic principles. These are necessary to a full understanding of the subject. It is not enough to know how to process people in Scientology. To be effective, one must also know the basic principles. Scientology is very exact. The humanities of the past were full of opinions. Scientology is full of facts that work. To study Scientology, one should scan quickly through the basics and find something with which one can agree. Having found one thing with which he can agree, one should then skim through again and find another fact. One should continue to do this until he feels some friendliness to the subject. When one has achieved this, and only when one has achieved this, he should then study all the basic principles. There is no effort here to be authoritarian. No one will try to make the subject difficult. You may have been taught that the mind is a very difficult thing to know about. This is the first principle of Scientology. It is possible to know about the mind, the spirit, and life. The cycle of action. The most fundamental idea in Scientology is called the cycle of action. A cycle equals a span of time with a beginning and an end, which is a section of a total time with beginning and an end, equal to in beginningless and endless time. One can set out periods which do have a beginning and an end insofar as action is concerned. Action equals motion, or movement equals in, act equals a consideration that motion has occurred. In very ancient books, it is written that from chaos came birth. From birth there was growth. When growth was achieved, there was then a gradual decay. The decay then ended in death. After death, there was chaos. Scientology expresses this more briefly. The cycle of action is an apparency as follows: create, then survive, then destroy, or creation, survival, destruction. First there is creation, then this is followed by survival, then this is followed by destruction. Apparency equals appears to be as distinct from what actually is. This cycle is only apparency. It is what we see, what we behold, and what we believe. We consider that it is so, and then we see it so. A child is born, he grows, he reaches manhood, he grows old, he dies. In Scientology, it can be seen that none of these steps are necessary. One considers them so, and so they are true. Quote, unquote, true. A man can grow old quickly or slowly. He grows old to the degree that he believes he is growing old. Because everyone agrees that this is the way things are, they go that way. This cycle is not true. It is only apparent. It is apparent because we believe we see it. It is apparent because we agree that it should be so. The test of this principle is as follows. By using the cycle of action, we can make anyone well or more intelligent. Thousands of tests have proven that the use of and belief in the cycle of action has made none well or intelligent. Therefore, no matter if we see it, there must be something wrong with it. The woman growing old, wishing to appear younger, is protesting this cycle of action. She feels there is something wrong with it. There is. We have to find out what the actual cycle is before we can make people better. Actual equals what is really true, equals that which exists despite all appearances, equals that which underlines the way things seem to be, equals the way things really are. The actual cycle of action is as follows: create, 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 create. Create, counter create, no creation, nothingness. Create equals make, manufactured, construct, postulate, bring into beingness equals create. Wow. Okay. Create minus create minus create equals create again and continuously one moment after the next equals survival. Create minus create minus counter minus create equals to create something against a creation equals to create one thing, then create something else against it equals destroy. No creation equals an absence of any creation equals no creative activity. An actual cycle of action that consists of various activities, but each and every one of them is creative. The cycle of action contains an appearance of survival, but this is actually only a continuous creation. The apparent cycle of action contains destruction, but the actual cycle of actions tell us what destruction is. Destruction is one of two activities. Destruction is, in the terms of action, a creation of something against a creation of something else. For example, a wall is seen standing. To be apparent, it is necessary that the wall be constantly created. The act of destruction is to exert against the wall another creativeness. That is, the action or activity of knocking the wall down. Both the wall standing there and the action of knocking it down are creative actions. Because we may object to a wall being knocked down, we vilify the creativeness involved in knocking it down with the word destructive. Actuality tells us that there is no such thing as destruction. There is only creation against a creation. There is another type of destruction, and there is no more creation. But no longer being a party to the wall's creation, the wall, in theory, can cease to exist for one. This is true in actual practice in Scientology. Reality is the way things appear. Reality is apparency. To do anything about reality, one must search into and discover what underlies the apparency. Of what does reality consist? We see an apparency which has a cycle of action of create, survival, destroy. More basically, the cycle of action contains nothing but creation. If one stops making something completely and ceases to be a party to its manufacture, it no longer exists for one. If one ceases to create, there is nothingness. When one creates something or beholds something which is created, that thing is still being created. Even if one is creating something with his left hand and has forgotten about it with his right hand, the thing still exists. In other words, one can create something without knowing it is still being created. Then one seeks to destroy it by counter-creation, a creation against it. The result is a chaos created by two opposing creations. Let us be practical. A science is not a science unless it is practical. A theory is no good unless it works. All the fancy and beautiful theory in the world is useless unless it has a use or workability. In this cycle of action theory useful, it is, so long as we believe that we have to destroy with force in order to destroy at all. As long as we think in terms of destruction, we have chaos. There is creating and knowing one is creating. There is creating and not knowing one is creating. When one drives a car or a cart, he does many things which he does not aware or a cart, he does many things which he is not aware of, and these we call automatic actions. One is doing something and is not aware that he is doing it. One states to create something, then places this thought still active beyond his own reach, and the creation continues to occur. Knowingly create something is always the first condition. We can purposely continue the creation unknowingly. Everything one is doing knowingly or unknowingly, one is doing here and now, in the present tense, present instant, and in present time. One knowingly stated any creation in some past moment, but the creation is being done in the present moment. To stop any creation, it can be established that one once knew one was creating it, finding that thought and making it known again. Or one can simply create newly and consciously what one is already creating unconsciously. In either case, the creation stops. The wrong way is to start a new creation to counter against the old creation. When one does this, he gets confusion and chaos. For example, a man has a bad leg. He is trying to get well. He seeks then to create a good leg. He goes to the doctors and wants to be healed. The treatment is difficult and usually somewhat unsuccessful in the case of a very severely crippled leg. Something is being created in a bad leg. Against this, he is creating a good leg. The result is confusion and a bad leg. But a third creativeness is present. First, something was created. We hope a good leg. Then a counter creation, such as an accident to his leg. Counter created a bad leg. Now he is trying to counter create again a good leg. The result is to wipe out the original good leg, since that is the creation he is taking over and exposing with his efforts to get well. He wants a good leg. The trouble with him is the counter creation of a bad leg. The test is factual. Have him create by a certain Scientology process bad legs until the counter creation of bad legs is wiped out and the original creation of good leg will reappear. This only fails when there is no original creation of a good leg, when the original creation of a good leg is gone. For example, a man has a job, he works at it. That is to say, he creates a job throughout the day, weeks, and years. As long as he makes the job exists. One day he depends upon, takes for granted, this job. He no longer creates it. It ceased to exist. He has no job. The apparency is that he wilted and was discharged. The actuality is that he no longer created a job and so didn't have one. For example, a man depends upon a woman to keep his house for him. One day he no longer has a wife. He can't keep house, even though before he was married, the woman could keep he could keep house. For example, a man is sane. He gets an idea that he would be better to be insane. Starts to go insane, having created it, and then does numberless things in order to stay sane. Here he was already creating the state of sanity. He counter-created insanity. He then counter-created sanity against insanity. Creation in this work may be thought to exclude God. We are here considering only those things which man or man as a spirit can make or manufacture or think. The subject of who or what is doing the creation does not invalidate the cycle. This is a work on a subject of the mind, not a work of the subject of the superior being. Lying is the lowest order of creativity. There are many tests for the principles in Scientology, such as tests come under the heading of processing. Oh my god.